Clash of the Classics.
Hey, that's right, everyone. I recognize that opening. It's time for Clash of the Classics to become one of our favorite segments here on Horsepower for an Hour. If you're new to the show, perhaps this is the first time you've discovered us, you're going to find a couple things. Number one, we roll the clock back each and every week. We pit two classic models against one another. We go head-to-head with styling, powertrain, design features. We look at different exterior, maybe interior stuff. It's always different from week to week. And then we vote on the car that we like best. And as always, for everyone, we invite you to go to our Facebook page or here in the YouTube channel and let us know which car you prefer. My name's Donnie. I'm here with Chris, my partner. We're going to launch into what I think is a pretty cool gig today. In fact, when I saw this on our schedule, I was pretty excited. This is one that I have been interested in doing for at least a few weeks. It's two of my favorite cars. These battles are fueled by the Automatic Transmission Rebuilders Association. The ATRA is the largest automatic transmission network in the world. You can find them anytime at atra.com. All right, let's get right into it now. As I said before, we're going to look at the 1966 Galaxie 500 battling the 1966 Pontiac GTO. And I want to start with that Galaxie 500. This was the second year of production for this body style. And for 66, it was doing pretty good in terms of sales. There were some minor cosmetic changes for 66, and the all-new performance version was outfitted with a 428 big block engine and a 4-speed manual transmission. The output was pretty impressive, especially for 1966, Chris. This thing rolled in right at about 345 horsepower. Ford called it their Galaxie 500 7-liter. But 345 horsepower, by today's standards, obviously not a lot of power, but when you put that on top of 1966 technology suspension-wise, that could be at least a little scary.
Unsafe at every speed.
Yes, no doubt about that. In fact, 100% agreed. Chassis and suspension were completely new, even though maybe not set up for 345 horsepower, but they were dramatically redesigned from 1965. There was a new 3-link system that was featured all coils. It replaced the old leaf spring type design. Many of our viewers will remember that. And the result, at least as far as I was concerned, was a much better ride quality, much better handling. In fact, check this out. The improvements were so impressive that NASCAR actually used it in their full-size class cars. But interior was large, roomy. I mean, you could almost, if you had a kitchen sink, you could probably have dinner in it. A lot of room inside the car. A lot of upscale amenities, at least for 1966. A new instrument panel was fitted in the dash. Two-way key system was introduced back then. One key for the trunk and glove box, and then another one for the doors and the ignition. That was new back then. Now today, that's obviously no longer the way Ford builds them. But back then, that was pretty cool. 1966 Ford Galaxie 500 was an instant hit with buyers. The convertible edition became the number 3 seller in America with just over 20,000 units that were sold. Now, the average MSRP back then was about $2,660. And here today, if you have a true numbers matching Galaxie 500 with a 427 engine, the 427 cubic inch displacement, that thing could be valued at well into the 140,000s. So as far as bang for the buck, I like the car. We don't see them a lot at some of the shows that we do. We don't often see it at some of the cruises that we go to. And I don't understand that because, I mean, you can see the vehicle. We have it up here on our in-studio monitors. Pretty cool car.
No, I mean, it's definitely a studly ride. But my question is, you said it was 345 horsepower. Mm-hmm. What was the approximate weight?
Run right at about 3,200 pounds, 3,300 pounds.
So you're getting up off the starting line pretty well. Yeah. I mean, granted, it's a boat with the 60 suspension. You know, you throw some modern suspension in there, you're probably really rocking. Because, you know, I mean, there's a lot of people who are going to say, oh, it's got to be 500 horsepower. 345 is pretty respectable.
Very respectable. One of the things that they didn't have back then that they have today is the ability to use gearing in a different way. They had the 3-speed automatic, or in some cases the 4-speed manual, but it was still somewhere near a 3-to-1 ratio in first gear. Now we're looking at 5-to-1, in some cases 5.7-to-1. So, you know, there's a way to cheat horsepower using gearing so you get better launch. They didn't have it back then. But you're right, 345, just under 350 horsepower. Pretty darn impressive, but a good-looking car.
Oh, no, most definitely. Great-looking car. And a good investment.
I think so. Here's the thing: it's in all of the Ford shows that we do. In fact, we do that Fabulous Fords Forever show down in Orange County once a year. Don't see many Galaxie 500s there. I mean, there are some, but not like you think that you would see in 1966. Going into that time period, that it was cool for cars. I mean, just in mid 60s to late 60s cars, there's not a model that was built by any manufacturer that isn't totally cool. But probably wasn't that good for our nation. That was a little bit before your time. You're a bit of a youngster, but back in those days, the height or it was the hottest in terms of the battle over in Vietnam. There were a lot of families being disrupted back then, and a lot of young people were dying because of that. A lot of protests that were happening. Creedence Clearwater Revival had done a whole lot of stuff with that. Buffalo Springfield had done a song. So there was a lot of stuff happening. It was a cool time musically as well.
And big transition too, because I know I'm sketchy on the month, but I know that Cream played their first official concert in 1966, and the Beatles, if you don't count the rooftop gig, the Beatles played their official last concert. So saw a little bit of a transition there from some of the Beatles material to the supergroup rock of Cream with Eric Clapton.
Wasn't that down the crossroad, down to the crossroads?
Yeah, they did. That was originally Robert Johnson. His version, the original version that Robert Johnson did, sounds way different than Cream's, but Cream's
so Cream ripped it off?
Oh yeah,
I did not know that.
I mean, they
made
creamsicled
it
it, that did live on to be an all-time classic.
Well, before we go any further, let me mention that today's Clash of the Classics made possible by the largest automatic transmission network in the world. They are the Automatic Transmission Rebuilders Association, or simply the ATRA. What you're going to want to do is head on over to atra.com. There on the home screen, you'll be able to input your zip code and find a number of shops in your area, participating member shops that can take care of that transmission problem for you. All right, let's head on over to one of the coolest cars that I think were ever built. I think you'll agree with me. It's the 1966 Pontiac GTO. Now, when I saw this battle on our schedule, I got excited because while both of these cars define the word cool, the GTO, I think, is the absolute coolest, best-looking car. It is the poster child for what a muscle car, classic car should be. This had everything from the hubcaps up, from the headlight to the taillight. This thing rocked it.
Without a doubt, this is a true American muscle car icon. It's up there with some of the greats.
Late, great John DeLorean, who was my former boss. I got a chance to meet John DeLorean on 3 different occasions. But you talk about consuming a room, that guy definitely did it. What a fantastic, well, at least to me, he was always very kind. Instrumental in the launch of the GTO. For 1966, there was one change that really makes some of these models almost priceless, and we'll get to that here in just a moment. But for right now, 1966 was a banner year for the GTO. The line was introduced in 1964, and of all the years the GTO has produced, I think 66 was definitely the most successful. Check this out, Chris. Pontiac sold a record 96,946 GTOs, just under 100,000 GTOs in 1966. That is still a record today.
Were there very many more people alive in 1966?
Yeah, exactly.
Everybody bought one.
Yeah, because the population has doubled since, I think, 1946. I think that's the first year that the baby boomers, 46 to 64, I fall into that group. But, yeah, the population is far bigger today. But to sell 100,000 cars in 1 year alone, but again, we're talking about a 1966 GTO. The one production change that occurred mid-year was the elimination of that 3-to-9 triple deuce package. We've seen that before in some of the car shows that we attend. This is 3 two-barrel carburetors on top of the intake manifold, and this thing was awesome. The option was dropped in, I think it was the spring or right about maybe the summer of 1966, but here's what that means. Check this out and listen up here. If you're the lucky owner of a true 1966 GTO with a 389 and a factory, I'm not talking aftermarket, but if it was a factory triple deuce engine setup, you're sitting on a minimum of $156,000 car.
And you're ready to roll with that.
You are ready to. I mean, put it this way: if the car is not your gig, that will make a hefty dent into your retirement. But even the '66 GTO with the V8 small block 400 and the 4-barrel carburetor is worth somewhere near $60,000 to $65,000. GTO originally sold for $2,643, about the same as the Galaxie. Here today, some of them are worth up to an estimated $75,000. As I said a moment ago, if you got the triple deuce, that's twice that amount. But I think, another interesting point in the GTO history was that GM spent considerable time, budget, resource, whatever word you want to use, at trying to brand the vehicle as the Tiger. And it always has been the GOAT. I mean, the GTO, it just was nicknamed the GOAT, and it just stuck. But, it's interesting to spend so much time only for it to fall back to what was totally obvious, GTO. I mean, it makes the best sense. But I'll start with you. Which of these two cars, I think I know where you're going, but which of these two cars do you like?
Well, I want to back up for a minute. Did I miss where you gave the horsepower on the GTO?
No. Well, it depends on what motor was in it.
Let's go top of the line.
Top of the line, you're running right at about 326 horsepower.
Okay, so a little slower
A little
out
less
the gate.
power
A little less power out the gate.
than the Galaxie.
But let's be real.
Mm-hmm.
The most important thing when, approaching these kind of vehicles and if you own one, sure, it's all good. I might want some money in a race. What do you really want?
Yeah.
You want a pretty lady in the front
Yep.
seat. If you tell a pretty lady you got a GTO, she knows what that is. She's going home with you. I got a Galaxie. Is this dude? Galaxie's up in the sky, right? Milky Way, I think. So
ranks a little lower on the cool factor.
yeah, I will definitely sacrifice the horsepower on just that man card factor. Plus, GTO looks better. I don't care if it's a GOAT. I like the front end a little better.
Well, we got a little bit of a problem here in studio, folks. In fact, for you viewers here on our YouTube channel, directly underneath this video, right underneath where I'm pointing, you can leave your comment. We'd love to know which car you like better. Do you prefer the GTO? Do you prefer the Galaxie? Let us know. Chime into either our Facebook page or head on over to horsepowerforanour.com. However you like, let us know which car you like. But remember, if you've got an automatic transmission problem, there's only one place you're going to want to go for that solution. It's an authorized ATRA member automatic transmission repair facility. ATRA's Golden Rule warranty is the best, most comprehensive warranty program on the planet, and it's available only from the Automatic Transmission Rebuilders Association. You can find them anytime at atra.com. For Donnie, for Chris, for the entire Clash of the Classics production department here, we'd like to wish you thank you so much for being a part of our show. I'd like to wish you a great week, and we'll see you next week here for another Clash of the Classics battle.
Radio.